Good evening and welcome to tonight's Undaunted, bringing to the news untold stories. I am Oyi Okbala. Let's begin. Fear, grief, and a deepening sense of abandonment are spreading across the conflict-hit communities of the southern Cameroons, where residents say they are living through one of the darkest chapters of the nearly decade-long crisis. The latest flashpoints came on Saturday, November 15, 2025, when Reverend Ndifor Cletus, senior pastor of Jubilee Assembly of the Full Gospel Mission, was ambushed and shot at the entrance of his residence in Bamenda. According to witnesses, unidentified assailants opened fire at close range, injuring him in the hand before fleeing the scene. Neighbors rushed the pastor to a nearby medical facility where he remains hospitalized in stable condition. For many in the southern Cameroons, the attack is another painful reminder of the relentless violence that has engulfed daily life. It follows a string of deadly incidents targeting religious figures and places of worship. Local sources says that Pastor Desmond was recently killed in Ndop, allegedly by state security forces, while Reverend Peter sustained gunshot wounds in a different attack in Sabah. Worshippers were left reeling around gunmen stormed a mosque, killing 3 people during prayers. Faith leaders and residents say the problem and the pattern is becoming unmistakable. Churches, mosques, and clergy, long considered sanctuaries and moral anchors, are increasingly being swept into the conflict areas. Community members claim that both state forces and armed groups have carried out attacks, creating an atmosphere in which no one feels safe. If men of God are no longer safe, what about ordinary civilians? One distraught church member asked. Amazonian communities describe a worsening humanitarian situation marked by fear, displacement, and mountain casualties. Religious authorities, including the Bamenda Provincial Episcopal Conference and the Catholic bishops of the Bamenda Ecclesiastical Province, have repeatedly condemned the rise in insecurity, decrying attacks on churches, kidnappings, and the erosion of basic rights. They are Calls for peace echo and desperation of thousands of families who say they have nowhere left to turn. Well, all these and more will delve on tonight's Undaunted, but first, let's get the prime headlines. Tonight on Undaunted, massive blaze destroys dozens of stalls at Victoria New Market. Two unidentified civilians found dead in Ndop amid rising fear over targeted killings. Also tonight, Bamenda gas plant fails to deliver 6 months after inauguration, while Bamenda community in shock after attack on Reverend Ndifor Cletus by still to be identified gunmen on Saturday, November 15, 2025. DRC official Mayonde reported that at least 32 people died when illegal diggers triggered a gunfire in the DRC. While on the global scene, Michelle Obama says country is not ready for a woman president. Now let's get the news in full preference. A massive fire broke out at Victoria New Market late Tuesday, destroying at least 20 stores and leaving traders devastated as their goods and properties were reduced to ashes. According to eyewitnesses, the blaze spread rapidly through the tightly packed market structures, giving vendors little time to salvage their merchandise. By the time the fire brigade arrived on the scene, the flames had already engulfed a large section of the market, making containment efforts extremely difficult. Authorities confirmed that no casualties were recorded, a relief amid extensive material losses. Firefighters battled the blaze for several hours before bringing it under control, but officials say the cause of the fire has not yet been determined. Market leaders are now calling for improved safety measures, including better access routes for emergency vehicles and upgraded fire prevention infrastructure to prevent similar incidents in the future. An investigation is expected to be launched to assess the origin of the fire and evaluate the overall damage. In the aftermath, dozens of affected traders gathered outside the market to access what little remained of their businesses. Many expressed frustration over what they described as recurring delays in emergency response and the lack of adequate fire safety system in one of the city's commercial areas. Local authorities have pledged to support the traders and discuss potential compensation or temporary relocation options as cleanup and recovery efforts begins. Firefighting service and emergencies coming late to centers where there has been fire accidents or emergencies has really not been a serious issues when it comes to La Republic to Cameroon. They do not take it serious in any way. There were times when it becomes a recurring incident. I think getting into the dry season from now up until the new year, getting into the very dry seasons, we have noticed that fire occurrences happen. Now, when this is very obvious, is it not expected that firefighters will be at the beck and calling of these people? Barrister Mbeseha, from the way things have been going, we have realized from our reports so far that towards the December, January, February, March, there is always lots and lots of fire incidents. In as much as we are trying to be objective and logical, not always to attribute it to, let's say, human originated or being caused by humans intentionally to probably frustrate Amazonians and all of that. Isn't it also necessary that precautionary measures are taken to ensure that these fires are held on and restricted, not to extend into tragic incidents like the one we just read now?
Well, we can say a lot about fires in towns. Talk about January, December, whatever. That's a dry season. It's extremely dry, and fire can spark out at any corner. But that's not the issue. Fire in big cities, anywhere in the world, including Europe, the United States, India, China, and Africa, they are predictable. They are not things that are ever a surprise. They are predictable. Because they are predictable, the communities are supposed to prepare in advance for such incidences to occur. And so the case of Victoria, which is an urban council, municipality, they should have expected, and if they did not, they should expect fire in that municipality. And I'm sure this is not the first fire there. The question we should ask ourselves is, why is the city not prepared in advance for such events to occur? Because they will naturally happen left or right, east or west, they will happen somehow. And that's why cities prepare in advance. How does the city prepare in advance for fire? They prepare with firefighting equipment. That's the first thing they do. They prepare with movement. If fire occurs in this particular, if fire occurs in a particular part of the town, how do we drive there to put out the fire? These are all preparations that should be made. They involve money. They involve a lot of technicalities. Victoria is a case study. If it is money, why does Victoria not have enough firefighting equipment? They should have. In Cameroon, they should be one of the richest councils in the whole country. For example, if the Sonara, which is based there, pay their taxes to the council, you have more than enough money. If the CDC, the second largest employer in the country, pay their taxes to the council, they should be able to buy enough equipment. Those things are expensive, but once acquired, they could last for years because they are not things that are used every single day. And so why are they not doing this? Why do they not have the equipment? Bottom line, they will tell you they don't have the money. Why? Because Sonora taxes, for example, are paid to the dollar. CDC pays its taxes to dollar, where it is based in Victoria. And so even if they had it there, how can the council not even develop the routes in town? There's fire, say, in Gardens or Newtown. This is where you drive to go and put out the fire. In the US where we live, you see at the corner of the road, they put it there, fire hydrants. They put a place there, when there's fire, the truck stands there, they unlock that place, there's a whole river coming out that will put out the fire. But they don't have all this. Even where they purport to have like in Bamenda, I think I've noticed it once. The truck comes there, it pumps out a few liters of water, and there's no more water in the truck. You cannot put out fire with your bare hands. There's no water. What do they lack? If it is Victoria, if it is Mbeseha, they want to turn at the corner of the river there and fill that tank, that truck with water. Is that what is above them? No. They have water flowing there everywhere. Limbe is actually named, Victoria, which is called Limbe today, is named after River Limbe. So they don't lack the water, they lack the equipment, they lack the planning. Why? Because the government is so inefficient. Because what even they call the council doesn't have any authority. They don't have no money. The money has to come to them. The money has to be sent to them from Yaoundé. All the taxes are paid in Douala to Yaoundé. Then Yaoundé decides to give you what they want. But it should never even happen in Limbe. Because Limbe is home to Sonara. Sonara is a refinery which is subject to fire disasters. But what happened 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago? Sonara was burnt down. There was no firefighting equipment right there. Sonara, the earth thing that generates all the money in Cameroon, they could not put out their own fire. And so where are we in this country called Cameroon? Because for now, we include Limbe, which we call Victoria, as part of Cameroon. They take taxes from us. It is part of their responsibility to equip the town. If they are not doing it, that's part of the failure of occupation, part of the failure of colonization. In the colonial days, the colonial master, Great Britain, supplied those things. That's their duty. If they are not supplying it, they have failed even in their colonization exercise. And so, the bottom line again, that is not supposed to happen. If it's happening in Victoria, then what do you expect in other towns, in Cambe, in Bengui, in Mamfe? If Victoria does not have all those things, despite all the resources and the importance attached to the city, then nothing exists anywhere. I've not seen any firefighting in Women in Kumba. Almost zero in Bamenda. The last one I saw, there was a fire in Bamenda. The truck came, there was no water in the truck. Somewhere else, there was water, but the truck died even before we got there. And so, that is where we are. That's how we've been punished for the past 64 years of so-called independence, of so-called recolonization by the people of Cameroon. As I've always said, we should never have been there when we are there. What do? We fight our way out. We have to rebuild. We have to pick the pieces where we can find them and regret and pray God that we should never go into such dungeon anymore. Over to you.
All right, thank you, sir. Moving on to other very sad reports for tonight. Two unidentified civilians were found killed and dumped in Ndop early Wednesday morning. This has deepened public anxiety over the ongoing violence affecting communities in southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. Local residents who discovered the bodies reported that the victims could not be identified, fueling concerns about the increasing number of unexplained killings in the area. Community members expressed shock and grief, describing the incident as yet another reminder of the persistent insecurity that civilians continue to face. Although the exact circumstances of the deaths remain unclear, some residents have accused security forces of involvement, alleging a pattern of intimidation, arbitrary arrest, and extrajudicial killings carried out in the course of operations against armed forces. Now, these allegations, which are difficult to independently verify due to restricted access to many affected areas, reflect long-standing tensions between the state forces and the local population. Human rights organizations have repeatedly documented cases of maltreatment, forced disappearances, and indiscriminate violence against civilians caught between government troops and, of course, the ASA. Now, local activists say the latest incident shows a broader climate of fear in southern Cameroon, where civilians often bear the brunt of clashes between the military, the French military, and the ASA. Residents complain that security operations frequently target unarmed individuals rather than the fighters themselves, leaving communities feeling vulnerable and unprotected. Calls are growing for accountability, improved civilian protection, and renewed efforts to address the root causes of the war, which has displaced hundreds of thousands and continues to disrupt daily life across Ambazonians. Authorities have not yet commented on the deaths in Ndop, and no group has claimed responsibility. Community leaders are urging both the government and all to respect human rights and to take urgent steps to prevent further loss of innocent lives. Barrister, you know that on a regular basis we get to see lifeless bodies around. Before now, it used to be probably parts of human bodies scattered in different places. Sometimes skeletons are found in the bushes and all of that. Right about now, they kill and dump them anywhere, indiscriminately. Anywhere they feel, they dump them. Last week, we reported where bodies were dumped in front of a hospital. The other time, it was in front of a church. All of this is to cause fear, to cause panic, to cause insecurity amongst a people that is already facing a whole lot of challenges, as it were. This is looking like a daily reoccurrence. Is there a possibility of people to stay indoors and still survive just so that they don't get killed in this war of independence?
Now, there's no possibility of staying indoors not to be killed because the killings are well organized. They are properly organized. In fact, I can say that in most instances, they are state organized killings. They are state sanctioned killings of those people. Especially now, during this tumultuous election period, the government has adopted a policy. It's a policy, it's not an imagination, where they kidnap people and take them to unknown destinations. Only the lucky ones even come back. So if you found a corpse near a church, you found a corpse near the hospital, that is the work of a kind guy, very kind murderers, because they dump you before the church, they dump you before the hospital, because at least one thing is sure, you'll be buried, you'll be given a formal burial. They'll pick your dead body, they will to dump you somewhere in the grave. Otherwise, they will just be thrown in the forest and you will die. Dead already, or you are bleeding to death, they dump you there and go away. Officially. And so the government has adopted this policy of kidnapping its own citizens, killing them without fear or favor, without fear of any responsibility. Am I imagining it now? Right now, we remember the case of Martinez Zogo, a man that they officially killed with government agents there. They murdered him in his own private environment. You remember the case of Wazizi? They picked him up in his own house in Boya. Took him to Yaoundé, we have not known where he is. We never even saw his body. But the government announced that he's dead. So this is a policy. They are not explaining anything to anybody. They kill you, especially if you're a critic of the government. They kill you, dump you wherever they wish. No questions asked. Even if they didn't do that, this is not the simple data of case. It is the responsibility of whoever sits in Yaoundé and calls himself the government to investigate all crimes. But these things are happening before the eyes of the governors, before the eyes of the prefects, the sous-prefects, all chef d'etat, before the eyes of the gendarmes, the police, the bee, and so on and so forth. And so that is their responsibility as a government to investigate. Have they ever investigated? No. They always end up by investigations will be open and no results are ever given. Is it a policy? Of course. Do we ever have the results from Garabo, which they admittedly did? Did they ever punish anybody to the best of our knowledge? They didn't. Did we ever have any official punishment for the killers of Florence Ayafo? That was admitted by the government. We never had anybody punished. And so it is a government policy to eliminate people they don't like, especially Ambazonians, directly or indirectly. They either come and adopt you in uniform or in plain clothes, or they pay somebody to eliminate you. This is government policy, I insist. Let the government challenge me. It's a policy to eliminate Anglophones, to eliminate the people they don't like. I find around, they will do that. The best thing they will tell you is suspected Amber boys. So not even the government saying it. Government agents in their narration will say, well, suspected Amber fighters did that. Why? Because they want to paint what they call Amber fighters black. They want to make them look like criminals. And of course, Atangaji will follow to add that they are drug dealers. This is from the government minister's own mouth. And so drug dealing encourages crime, promotes crime. This comes from the government's own mouth. And why are the drug dealers doing that? What has the government done to catch and train them or to lock them up? Zero. Therefore, even if they are drug dealers, if they are armed robbers, they are encouraged by the government to help them where they have failed. In terms of Ambazonia, they have failed to bring law and order to Ambazonia. What do? They instill fear by killing whoever they think comes their way. If they ask you a woman for love and you don't come, they kill you. If you come, they rape you and they still kill you as a policy to instill fear in the citizens. That is not acceptable anywhere. It is not acceptable in Cameroon. It should not be acceptable in Amazonia. People who are doing all this, directly or indirectly, must be held accountable because you cannot be allowed to kill people with impunity. You cannot be allowed to take the law into your own hands with impunity. And so, again, as I said in the last segment, that is why we fight. That's why we must get out of this dungeon of this lawless community called Cameroon. They are criminals from top to bottom. They are, in fact, potential jailhouse visitors from top to bottom. They are all criminals, directly or indirectly. And so, poor people who are dead, the killings again are targeted, very, very targeted, or random. The whole goal is to instill fear in the population of Amazonia. And so if you go to places where everything is so hot, then go Kotunja, I think Ndop is in Go Kotunja, they will find more of those things because they want to instill fear in the population. If you go to where there is not so much, they will do it differently. Again, where are the chef de terres? Where are the investigations? Where are the commissaire de police? Where are the commandant de brigade? Where are the generals of the B who are flooding the streets? No accountability, no response. By implication, it is done by their own paymasters general. Over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. And also moving on to some other very sad reports. The most had domestic gas filling station in Bamenda inaugurated on the 9th of May 2025 with great fanfare has failed to produce a single bottle of liquefied petroleum gas, LPG, for the local market. The plant, touted as a solution to the region's LPG shortage, was expected to fill up to 600 cylinders per hour and reduce the price of a 12.5 kg bottle from 8,000 to 6,500. However, residents and local observers say the plant remains idle with no gas being distributed to household. Instead, citizens continues to pay exorbitant prices or resort to using firewood, a step backwards in the fight against deforestation and indoor air pollution. The stark contrast between the plant's promised benefits and its current state has sparked outrage and raised questions about the French Cameroon's government's intentions and the project's viability. The question is the site truly equipped and ready to operate as promised? You know the answer. And why is there no distribution secured supply in Bamenda and its surroundings? Are just a few of the questions on the minds of everyone. As the people of Bamenda await answers, the silence from the French Cameroon's government and plant officials is deafening. The plant's failure to deliver on its promises has left many wondering if it was just a publicity stunt or a genuine attempt to address the region's energy needs. One thing is certain, the people of Bamenda do deserve better. Barrister, we have read this report before, we have given this report before. We are re-emphasizing again that after the whole fanfare and the inauguration, the people do not have gas. We're just a month away from December, the end of the year. The people do not have gas. And so this is more or less a reminder message to tell them that this gas station that was inaugurated is still not functioning. Why was it inaugurated? Or if it is functioning, why is it not helping solve the people's need? Barrister, what do
Well,
you have to say?
we have talked about this gas thing a number of times before. And I said, luckily I'm still here, that those were empty promises. They were election campaign promises. They were never going to deliver any gas thing over there. The first thing is that the Bamenda people, whether women or men, never asked for any gas station. They didn't tell them that the problem was gas. They said the problem was roads, water, electricity. They didn't talk about gas. Now remember that the Bamenda gas plant was inaugurated 2 weeks after the Kumba gas plant. And on one of these occasions, I remember asking the question, so the gas issue is only for Anglophones, as they call it. And I asked, where is the Bunda gas plant? Where is the Konsamba gas plant? Where is the Loom gas plant? Where is the Bafusam gas plant? So this gas plant are only being promised for Ambazonians. The simple reason is they were just political promises that will never be fulfilled. And what embarrasses me is that those people sit in Bamenda in particular and Kumba again, who postulate for the so-called criminal junta of CPDM in the name of mayors and duos. They are so shameless. They are so shameless that they will never admit that these promises are just empty promises. They will never deliver them. How many times did the ambassador of Cameroon, of France, come to Bamenda to promise good roads? Till today, the roads are not there. He promised good water. Till today, there's no water there. They even went further to promise picking debt in the streets. That nothing is being picked. And so these are just criminals in open daylight. They lie to people. I don't blame them. I blame the people who don't see these lies, who don't react. Because when you don't react, they have the government you deserve. I remember after the October 12th election, I saw this very mayor of Bamenda jumping through the streets in his empty gown with some dirty coat, criminal that won an election. He won the election, sure, by fraud, obviously, but deliver the election promises that he made. They will not deliver. Among them, the gas thing that they promised. And I had said it earlier, since when did it become the responsibility of government to supply gas, cooking gas to women? That's a private company. It will be like the next day they will supply what they call petrol stations for people to buy petrol and put in their cars. That's not the responsibility of government. Whoever wants to sell petrol, whoever wants to sell cooking gas, and that's what has been done, sell it, make profit out of it, pay taxes to the government. The government cannot supply you gas. The government cannot put up petrol stations to give you petrol to put in your cars. And so it is all fraudulent. It is so tactless for anybody to believe in them. Now, elections are over. The millions of promises that were made, the people, be it in Bamenda, be it in Boya, anywhere in Amazonia, should be able to say, politicians, where are the election promises that you made just 2 months ago, just a month or 6 months ago? Where are they? If they are not delivering, what should the people do? They have a way to hold them accountable. I don't need to tell them. I don't need to tell the Bamenda resident how to be angry. I don't need to remind the people in Kuma how to show their anger against what they are doing to them. So if they don't react, if they keep quiet, and they expect me and you to talk here and help them, we will only help them by giving these outlines for them to understand, if they did not understand. But to hold them accountable, it is the responsibility of the residents of Bamenda. Yes, let them supply them the gas, and they will go and cope with it. But above all, let them supply them the roads they promised, even from the French treasury. Let them supply them the water they needed to drink to be able to survive. Then provide them the good hospitals. If they are not providing this thing, and you are paying your taxes in Bamenda, in Kuma, anywhere else in the world, Cameroon, especially in Tanzania, you are just being stupefied. You are stupefying yourself. Again, we can only educate you, and just the action is for you to take. Take it or leave it. But to me, and to many right-thinking people, these people are political criminals. They promise what they will never deliver. They have never delivered any election promise. Absolutely zero. And so, that's what it is. If you're expecting a gas station or whatever thing in Bamenda, well, where is it? Where's the gas station? I remember one moment before the gas station, the Prime Minister took time to go to Bamenda. To do what? To inaugurate somebody's private football pitch of just 200 seats. The Prime Minister came from Yaoundé to go and do that. It's a joke. A 200 seat place which somebody made for his private football pitch. Well, that's it. That's it. Unfortunately, we find ourselves again where we are. We have to fight until we get out of it. Those election promises will never be fulfilled. I can insist here. If they have to be fulfilled, where is the ring road that was promised by Paul Biya himself? When he became the fund of funds 43 years ago as a president, nothing has been delivered. If Paul Biya cannot deliver his own promises made from his own mouth, what do you expect from a government minister, a mayor who has no power? Something they call it regional council that is begging for money to survive. Again, it's unfortunate. We should never be there. We must get out of it. Sooner or later, we shall be free. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister. Still on very sad reports today, the Bamenda community is still gripped by fear and outrage following the shooting of Reverend Ndifor Cletus, who is a senior pastor of Jubilee Assembly of the Full Gospel Mission. This happened on Saturday, November 15, 2025. The attack occurred at the entrance of his residence in Bamenda, where the assailants ambushed and fired at him at close range, striking him in the hand. Neighbors rushed to his aid, transporting him to a nearby medical facility where he is now hospitalized in stable conditions but under close monitoring. This incident is not an isolated attack. Recently, Pastor Desmond was killed in Ndop, reportedly by the French Cameroon state forces in front of his congregation. Reverend Ndifor was also shot in the arm by gunmen while at home in Ndop. Furthermore, an attack on Sagba mosque resulted in the deaths of 3 worshippers. Churches, mosques, once considered sacred places, are increasingly being drawn into the war, with clergy and worshippers becoming targets by French Cameroon armed and unidentified armed gangs. Residents say insecurity in Bamenda continues to worsen, with brazen attacks happening even in residential areas across considered relatively safe places. The question is, if men of God are no longer safe, what about ordinary civilians? A church member questions. Local faith leaders are calling for urgent action to protect religious figures who often provide critical support during war times such as this. The attack on Reverend Cletus has raised concerns about the safety of religious leaders in the British Southern Cameroons, conflict-hit territory. The Bamenda Provincial Episcopal Conference has previously expressed concern about the growing insecurity and injustice, calling for an end to violent attacks. The Catholic bishops of the Bamenda Ecclesiastical Province have also condemned attacks on churches and kidnappings of religious leaders, emphasizing the need for peace and stability. Barrister Mbeseha. This is a compilation of all the attacks between Saturday and today in the Southern Cameroons, both in the churches and in the mosques. So it's not even like there are a set of people that are being spared. This is looking like an attack to the religious communities, but it's not even now. The truth is that nobody is even safe. Everyone is being attacked. It depends on the information that we bring and we give to the people. Everyone is attacked. And this is not the first time that religious leaders are attacked, even from our own reports that we give. Religious leaders are attacked endlessly over and over and over and over again. And Barrister is becoming more like very scary situation. There is no safe place. The hospital is not safe. The church is not safe. The mosque is not safe. There is no safe place for the people of Southern Cameroons during this war time. And it's highly scary. What would you say, Barrister?
Well, I would say that you have said it somehow. It is not unusual. You see, throughout the world for the past 9 years, religious organizations and pastors, priests, have been targeted or accidentally killed. Forgotten perhaps that in 2017, I think 2018, The first victim, one of the earliest victims, Mamfe, was a Catholic priest. A Kenyan priest serving in Mamfe was killed. Not shortly after that, another priest was killed in Moyoka. Some churches were burnt down. That was 5-7 years ago. We go on now, we come up to now. The events are now 2025, duplicating themselves within months and days. And so the first thing we have to do is we have to say that last one who was just wounded was lucky. We pray for his safe recovery, that he didn't die. And so the question now is, why are the missionaries, why are churches and mosques the center of attack? Why? Why, one must ask. These are people who are peaceful people. They preach peace in general. No religion talks about violence. Religion talks about justice, peace, and whatever you can find. But they are the target of all this, or they are the victims of all this. Why would somebody target them? Ambazonian fighters, AS, have no reason to target a priest, target a pastor. Absolutely no reason. The suspicion, I think, is just a suspicion, is that these things are encouraged by the government or their government agencies. They have so many branches that are doing this security. And so is it new? No. Throughout the history of Cameroon, especially Cameroon under Paul Biya, the church has not been saved. They have killed priests. Who remember the killing of Bishop Mbala, I think of Bafia? Investigations are still ongoing. The killing of Bishop Plume of Garowa, retired. Investigations are still ongoing. The killing of Reverend sisters somewhere in Dume or somewhere there. The investigations are still going. These are all religiously ordained persons, Reverend fathers, Reverend sisters, and pastors. And so it is in the track record of the government of this country to target missionaries, to target churches, to satisfy their political agenda. And so one was asked why. Why are they targeted? The simple reason I can find is that at all costs, the majority of these pastors, they tell the truth. They are the ones who will rebuke the government for wrongdoing. In the majority, those are the accomplices, but in the majority, they rebuke the government. They tell the truth. And they tell the truth from the pulpit, where nobody is asking questions. They do it, and then they are targeted for all that. How long shall this continue? We don't know. But the truth is, and history lies there, where war goes to attack the spiritual, you have lost the war. Because God is so invisible, and so invisible and invincible, that is not possible for an attack. These people of God, we call them men of God or women of God, they are the religious. They are simply bringing morale to the society. If you decide to kill them like they killed Bishop Mbala, like they killed Bishop Plume, like they killed Reverend sisters in Gunmen and others, like they shot and killed the priest in Moyoka, in Mamfe, and these pastors, what do you expect next? What will this government not do? They will do anything just to survive. They will do anything to instill fear. So goal to survive forever. And so again, our prayers go to those people who did not die, who were simply wounded. But how long shall administration do this? If they didn't do it themselves, let them bring out the culprits. But it is their duty as a government to investigate and punish criminals. Where criminality becomes the order of the day, impunity becomes the rule, somebody must be held accountable. Who is to be held accountable? Mr. Paul Biya and the people that represent him. Be they governors, be they prefects, be they gendarme, police, or whatever you call them, they are responsible. Because it is their duty to prosecute, to investigate, prosecute criminals, let them to go. The jails are there, set up by the government and taxpayers' money. The jail guards, that's the prison guards, are paid by us. Why are we paying these people? But the prisons are full. Why are they full? Because this very government will run and catch everybody who criticizes them. We said that in the last segment. Kidnap you, and you have no food to pay it. And we payers were paying for them to keep our adopted people And so, again, that's the misfortune of that country of Cameroon. We cannot explain how we found ourselves in that jungle. How we became part of it is rather regrettable. That that thing must be repaired. That occupation, that error, historical error must be rectified. We shall get free. We shall belong to a society where the religious will practice their religion with peace, where the churches will be safe, where everybody will know where they belong. Attacks a mosque. Attack a mosque. It's a church. You know, why are you attacking a mosque? It's like a church house. Why are you doing that? With impunity. The idea is to show you that somebody is fighting against Islam, to buy support from the population, to look for the enemy to be responsible for what you're supposed to do. And so, I mean, we've not dealt with this throughout the past 7 years. Farmer grazier issues employed by the government, Fulanis in attacking other people and taking their farms encouraged by the government through their dues, through the administrators. And so the list is very, very long. It is pitiable. We just pray to God, Almighty God, as you spare the lives of the pastors, of the religious, learn to give us the freedom, give us the strength to fight our way out. Bless our efforts. Let us get out of this. God does not sleep. We shall not sleep. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister. Thank you so much. And it's so sad that all the reports we brought to the front burner today has been very sad ones. We hope that once Amazonia gains independence and once this independence is recognized across the globe, we would have better stories to tell, stories that will uplift the mind and make Ambazonians happy whenever they get glued to their TVs. And it's on that note that we will let you go for tonight. Hopefully, we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And right when we return, we'll head into the DRC, that's the Democratic Republic of Congo, where at least 32 killed after illegal diggers trigger gunfire, says Mayonde. Authorities in the Democratic Republic of Congo says dozens of miners were killed after chaos erupted at a quarry in the country's mineral-rich east. Provincial official Mayonde reported that at least 32 people died when illegal diggers attempting to access the site despite warnings about landslide risks were caught in a stampede triggered by gunfire. A separate report released on Sunday by Congo's Artisanal and Snail-Scale Farming Support and Guidance Service, Samape, put the death toll even higher, stating that at least 40 miners lost their lives, according to agency. Soldiers stationed at the quarry fired shots that sparked panic among workers. In the ensuing rush towards a nearby bridge, miners fell and became piled on top of each other, leading to multiple fatalities and injuries. The presence of soldiers at the mine has long been a point of dispute among informal miners, the cooperative overseeing corporations, and the site's license operators. Tensions reflect broader dysfunction in Congo's mining sector. Congo is the world's leading producer of cobalt, a key component in lithium batteries used in electric vehicles and other technologies. Chinese companies control roughly 80% of the country's cobalt production. Despite its global importance, the industry has faced persistent allegations of child labor, dangerous working conditions, and corruption. The tragedy comes amid ongoing conflict in eastern Congo, where government troops and numerous armed groups, most notably the Rwanda-backed M23 rebels, continues to fight for control. The renewed violence has deepened an already severe humanitarian crisis in Congo. Meanwhile, a government aircraft carrying the Democratic Republic of Congo's Minister of Mines and his delegation, was involved in a serious incident today, Monday 17, 2025, upon landing at Kowezi Airport in Lualaba Province. The plane, which had departed from Kinshasa, veered off the runway shortly after touchdown and burst into flames. According to initial information from the minister's communications advisor, all passengers were able to be evacuated before fatalities or serious injuries. Authorities report that while the passengers escaped unharmed, the delegation's luggage and several pieces of transported equipment were lost in the fire. The cause of the runway excursion remains unknown, and an investigation is expected to be launched to determine what led to the dramatic incident. Aviation officials are anticipated to review flight data and assess airport conditions as part of their inquiry. Now, when we return right after the break, we'll get into the global scene where Michelle Obama says the country is not ready for a woman president. Former First Lady Michelle Obama expressed deep frustration about the state of gender equality in American politics, saying the United States remained unprepared to elect a woman to the nation's highest office. Speaking during a convention with the actor Tracy Ellis Ross at a recent public event, Obama pointed to Vice President Kamala Harris' failed 2024 presidential bid as evidence of the persistent barriers women, particularly women of color, still face. Obama was asked whether she believes the country has created enough political room for a woman to ascend to the presidency. She responded candidly, telling the audience that last year's election made it clear the nation still struggled with accepting women in positions of ultimate political power. She says, as we saw in the past election, sadly, we aren't ready. Obama said, referring Harris' unsuccessful campaign. She stressed that ingrained biases continues to influence voter behavior, adding that sexist attitudes remains widespread across the political spectrum. The former First Lady also dismissed reoccurring speculations about her own political ambition. She says, that's why I'm like, don't even look at me about running because you all are lying. You're not ready for a woman, she said, drawing laughter from the crowd. But underscoring a serious point, we've got a lot of growing up to do, and there's still a lot of men who do not feel like they can be led by a woman. And we saw it. That's what she said. Michelle Obama remarks comes amid ongoing national conventions about gender, leadership, and representation, following one of the most contentious election circles in recent history. Her comments are likely to reignite debate amongst Democrats on how and whether the party can overcome entrenched biases to pave a viable path for future female candidates. Oh well, we all are watching to see if that could be a possibility. But before then, this is where we draw the curtains on tonight's Undaunted. But before we go, let's take a look at the stories that made it to the headlines. Tonight on Undaunted, we told you that massive blaze destroyed dozens of stalls at Victoria New Market. Also tonight, 2 unidentified civilians found dead in Ndop amidst rising fear over targeted killings. Tonight, also, Bamenda gas plant fails to deliver 6 months after inauguration. Bamenda community in shock after attack on Reverend Ndifor Cletus by still to be identified gunmen on Saturday, November 15, 2025. DRC official Mayonde reported that at least 32 people died when illegal diggers triggered a gunfire. Michelle Obama says the country is not ready for a woman president that is on the global scene. On behalf of Barrister Mbeseha and a team of technicians behind tonight's production, it's good night and God bless.